Here we are in the dark. No need to speak, no need.
Welcome back to the Baltimore Orioles franchise on MLB the Show. I'm your host, longtime listener. Be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and comment below. This episode is going to be all the off-season action, so it's going to be a pretty quick one and kind of down and dirty, right to the point. But just a quick look here. Felix Hernandez is retiring. He, just really faded down the stretch in this season, but pretty impressive career for this guy. Absolutely dominant when he was in Seattle. They worked him like a, absolute rented mule. Anyway, he comes up with 190 wins, 148 losses, over 3,000 innings pitched, over 2,700 strikeouts. So the career ERA at 3.49, which is actually higher than I would have expected it for him. But in any case, also Albert Pujols is going to the Hall of Fame. No surprise here. Pushing 3,300 hits, 665 home runs, and over 2,000 RBIs. The batting average slipped below 300, but very impressive career for him. Now just a quick look at the Orioles roster before we get into off-season moves. Kind of want to just look at starting pitching and who we kind of have under contract. We've got Syndergaard and Means locked up for a few more years. They're obviously going to be the anchor of our rotation, and then Rodriguez, Burns, and Navarro going to definitely get some looks. Keegan Akin, I will probably also give a shot at the opening day rotation, getting him some outings in spring training. I might look to trade DL Hall because Ryan Weathers is another lefty stud, a potential that's a year younger, and they're in the hopper. So I don't have a huge use for DL Hall, and with his walks per nine rating as bad as they are, or as it is, I think we try and see if we can't get some value out of him because I don't see him being somebody that's going to have consistency at the major league level. At relief pitcher, we're not bad right now, but Tanner Scott is an issue. We still have all these guys at the top locked up for another year or so, but the challenge is I need a left-handed relief pitcher to take the place of Tanner Scott. I've got a couple of decent right-handed arms I just don't know I'm real happy with. Derek Gorman, I think, is going to be the guy that I am going to look to take the place of Tanner Scott. The guy throws absolute smoke. He's got really good hits per nine. His, ratings as far as Ks per nine, hits per nine, walks per nine, etc. are all pretty good. His control is a little bit of an issue, but when you throw that hard, I think you can get away with it. Obviously, Osuna is going to be the closer, and then we've got Sherman Monahan, another young right-hander there that could eventually be a pretty good option for us. I don't know that he's major league ready yet. My goal in free agency is going to be to try and go get a good right-handed relief pitcher, maybe two, or a lefty that I could pop in there, but I really want to give Gorman a look. Catcher is pretty straightforward. It's going to be Rutschman, Severino. I think I'll have to re-sign Severino by way of arbitration, but giving him a one-year deal worth, a couple $1 million is not that big of a deal. Ryan Mountcastle and Trey Mancini are going to platoon at first base again in DH. Peter Welch, though, is there as an option. If he starts raking in AAA, we may look for trade opportunities for Ryan Mountcastle because he's platooning, and I think I can maybe get some value out of him. Anyway, Ramon Urias, I think, is going to be a guy that might get left off of the 40-man roster, or at least off the opening day roster, and then we go with Jones and Valaika, and then Wilbus Santiago there as a depth option. Chris Bryant's going to have to be the third baseman because we just don't have anybody else. Benoit was a draft pick that he's got some upside, but he's still very raw. Only 19 years old, but a 63 overall is going to take a while to develop. We're loaded at shortstop. Corey Seager is going to be the everyday shortstop pretty much, but Bobby Witt Jr. is a 78 overall. We've got to figure out a way to get him some playing time, and then we've got this trio of Hall, Vavra, and Henderson there in the minors that are coming along and getting to the point where we might need to figure out a way to get them onto the 40-man roster or, to the 26-man roster at the major league level. So we'll have to decide what we're going to do there, but definitely going to be Seager getting the lion's share of the playtime at shortstop. Dickerson's going to play left field most days for us. Ricky Gold just doesn't hit for average enough to get any serious consideration at the major league level. But Jorge Colon, this guy's 25 years old. He's only a 69 overall, but he is like a specialist, basically, we'll call him. He hits contact for righties very well, has no power, but he's got good speed and pretty good defense. He might get some looks in spring training, and we'll see if we can make something happen with him. Hayes will play center field against righties. Stowers and Marsh, I think I'm going to let them play it out for that next, depth spot in center field. And then Jahmai Jones will play center field against lefties. In right field, we've got Sonder for another couple years, but I am just not happy with how he has performed so far in this franchise. Hopkins is definitely going to play against lefties. I don't know what to do with DJ Stewart. I just don't have a ton of use for him, and we really don't have any other legit major league options in right field. So we do need to get a little bit creative in the outfield, but I think we've got a lot to work with. And so fast forward into free agency, and I went and got a starting pitcher, which I wasn't even really expecting to do, but I just like what Jameson Taillon brings to the table. He's just good at pretty much everything. I consider him like a right-handed John Means. So I really like what we get out of him. And now we've got 3 really good pitchers at the top of this rotation, and then it's going to be probably Rodriguez and Burns, with Navarro and Akin trying to pitch their way onto the starting day rotation. But we'll have to see what we get out of those 4 in the spring training and just kind of go with it. So I still think we need to address the relief pitching situation, and here we've done so with Jeremy Jeffress, veteran right-hander. Guys, he used to throw a little bit harder, I feel like, but he's 35 now. The arm's slowing down a little bit, but he's got pretty good stuff, good command, and I think he can be a solid relief pitcher for us. In the middle relief situations. So that just gives us another option. And now we're actually going to look at this. So since we went and got Jameson Taillon, I don't really have a use for DL Hall, and I think he adds a lot of value in terms of trade bait. And the Nationals are willing to give us this guy, Jeremy De La Rosa, a 20-year-old outfielder, left-handed. He hits for pretty good contact, and the power numbers aren't that bad. You can see how much he developed last season, and he's only 20 years old. His plate skills need to come along a little bit, but he's very good defensively and has pretty good speed. So I like this. It gives us that option in right field to eventually move away from Anthony Santander. Now we go out and get another right-handed reliever in Raisel Iglesias. He's 33. So he's starting to digress a little bit, but still a very good major league pitcher, pretty much just like above average to good, almost elite ratings on just about everything that he brings to the table. So I'm really happy with this signing. He is probably going to be our setup man, and that is pretty much how it goes there. And then we're going to add another third baseman for depth, but that's pretty much it in terms of roster moves and free agency. Not a lot that we really need to look at, but then again, there you got the starting rotation. And I like how deep we are at starting pitching. 3 guys that are definitely going to be there all season as long as they stay healthy, and then several others that can hopefully get the job done for us. And then we've got a lot of right-handed relief pitching options. We're going to move Iglesias to relief pitcher. I will end up doing the same with Gorman out of the bullpen, bringing the lefty over as a reliever instead of a closer. But we've got a lot of options there to where I think we'll be okay. I'm a little bit concerned about Gorman, but like I said, when you throw as hard as he does and have the hits per 9 and a 60 for a walks per 9 is pretty darn good, I think we're okay. It's going to be, like I said, Severino and Rutschman there. Those 2 at first base, no question there. And then Welch, I'm hoping he can just rake at AAA and open up some trade options for Montcastle. Jahmai Jones, Valaika, Urias is the trio that we'll probably look at mostly at second base, with Santiago there as a depth option. I was surprised he didn't get snatched up in the Rule 5 draft. There's Chris Bryant, and then we are going to actually move this guy from single A to double A to give him a look at that level. And then really, I don't have a lot of options to put at AAA, so I thought about sticking him there, but then I realized, you know what? We got a ton of guys at shortstop. Leave him down at AA, and we'll put one of these shortstops at third base in AAA, and that'll solve that problem. But it's going to be Seager and Witt more than likely at the major league level. But we'll kind of get a look at some of those guys during spring training. That's the situation in left field. No changes there. But Jorge Colon, a guy to look out for and see what he does in spring training. Same with Kyle Stowers. We haven't really given him much of a chance, but he's going to get one in spring training this season to contend with Brandon Marsh for a roster position. And then in right field, now we look a little bit deeper with De La Rosa there, and Clay Hopkins still just 22 years old, a 74 overall, A potential. He's going to continue to come along, and then I can basically just hopefully platoon those guys in right field. I wish I had a guy that could play center field every day, but bottom line, I'm happy with this roster. I feel like we improved over last season, so that's always a positive. And now here's our results from spring training. Austin Wynns only got 2 at bats, but he got 2 hits. But he's just he's not getting onto the 40-man or to the opening day roster. Stowers only got 18 at bats, but he thrived in those 7 hits. He hit a home run. The walks are solid, so just absolutely thrilled with what we got out of him. Same with Peter Welch. I wish I would have gotten these guys a few more reps, but the bottom line is that they showed enough that I think I've got something with them. Then Cologne was 18 for 42, swinging the bat very well. Again, no power, but he does have some speed, and he was absolutely outstanding in the spring. Adley Rutschman was awesome. Michael Paez was awesome, but only batted 11 times. Montcastle did well. Corey Seager did well. Trey Mancini did well. Bobby Witt, he only hit 222, but he did show some pop, which I like, but the on-base percentage of 239 is just not gonna work. So we got to figure out a way to get him putting the ball in play and getting on base using his speed. Jermaine Jones was okay. Dickerson was about as advertised. Austin Hayes was pretty good with the average up higher than where we normally see it. Clay Hopkins did okay. Chris Bryant hit 212 with 2 home runs. Santander, I'm just not real thrilled with him. I don't think he's going to be on the 25-man roster. Pat Valaika was awful. De La Rosa was not very good. Terrin Favre also not very good. Urias was terrible. This was the biggest disappointment. Brandon Marsh was awful. And you saw how well Kyle Stowers did. That was after Marsh got out of the gates, was doing okay, so I gave Stowers a look, and then he raked. So then I gave Marsh a chance to basically play his way back onto the opening day roster, and he was terrible. So I think it's going to be Stowers in the on the 25 or on the 26-man roster on opening day. Now looking at pitchers, this trio at the top here is so disappointing. Because these are the 3 guys, or 3 of the 4 that I was really hoping one of them at least would shine and pitch their way onto the opening day rotation. None of them did very well. I think it's going to be Burns just because he was there last year and nobody really took the job away from him. But then in terms of the bullpen, Paul Fry was, he only got 2 2/3 of work for whatever reason. Jeffress was okay. Weathers was okay. John Means, Syndergaard, and Taillon, that trio right there. Not exactly the greatest numbers, but not that bad. Grayson Rodriguez was outstanding. Derek Gorman was also pretty good. The ERA up a little bit, but a solid whip. Iglesias, basically the rest of these guys all the way down were very solid. So again, we've got a lot of options in the bullpen. I'm still going to go with Paul Fry over Tanner Scott just because what I've seen from Tanner Scott, he is not a good major league relief pitcher. So it'll probably be Gorman and Fry in the bullpen, and that's the strategy that we're going to rock going into the season as far as I can tell. So now let's take a look at what we're going to do with lineups come opening day. It's going to be Austin Hayes batting leadoff. We may mix up him and Corey Dickerson depending on how that goes, because towards the end of the season we kind of flip-flop those guys, and it worked pretty well with Dickerson swinging a hot bat. So keep an eye on that situation because that's always something that we can explore. Corey Seager's going to bat third, plain and simple. I moved Montcastle up to the 4 hole. We had Mancini there last year mainly because he's more consistent against lefties and righties. So where like late in the game, if they go to relief pitcher, I don't like having Montcastle batting fourth, but we're gonna just let it go this way and see how things go for the time being. Because he's not terrible against lefties, he's just not nearly as good. And then it's going to be Chris Bryant batting sixth. We'll see how that goes. Adley Rutschman batting seventh. Jorge Colon played his way onto the end of the starting lineup. In fact, playing right field. He may split time with Kyle Stowers, but the bottom line is both of those guys did well enough to definitely at least get some looks. And then Jahmai Jones is going to bat ninth and play second base for us against righties when we've got the DH. Now, when we don't have the DH, basically Cologne comes out of the game. Dickerson goes to right, and Montcastle goes to left. Montcastle doesn't play left field, so we had to put Dickerson in right to make this work. But I like that lineup, honestly, for when we're facing righties without the DH in play. Now, against lefties, Jones goes to center field. Dickerson's going to bat second and play left field. Then Mancini at first, who hits pretty well against lefties. I wish he had better contact ratings. We're going to have Corey Seager bat fourth. We may mix those guys up, but I like the righty-lefty thing right off the top. Then I had Valaika batting fifth, but I decided to go ahead and put Chris Bryant there, give him a shot. His ratings say he is the best hitter we have against left-handed pitching. We'll see how that works out. Adley Rutschman's going to get the start against lefties with Pedro Severino there to give him some time off should we need it if he's getting tired or whatever, but we'll probably try and do that when we're facing lefties. Clay Hopkins is going to play right field, and then Bobby Witt Jr., we're going to try and give him a shot at shortstop against lefties and see how he does. And then without the DH, basically what we had to do here was pull Dickerson out of the lineup. Hopkins moves up to the 2-hole. Chris Bryant goes to left field. And then what we did was put Corey Seager at third base instead of DH and kind of move everybody up a spot. Although I need to remember to go back and put Chris Bryant back in the 5-hole against lefties. But that's the plan for us in terms of who we've got going on a everyday basis against left-handed pitching. Well, not every day, only when we're playing National League opponents. Anyway, the starting rotation, the top three, no surprises there. Rodriguez pitched really well in spring training, so he is going to get the 4 spot, and then we're going to give the number 5 spot in the rotation to Milton Burns with Akin and Navarro there coming out of the pen for long relief. That may change over the course of the season, but that's what we're going to start with. And then Paul Fry and Jeremy Jeffress going to do the middle relief work. Raisel Iglesias is the primary setup man with Gorman there to face lefties. We'll see how that goes, but that's sort of a risk. And then Osuna is obviously going to be the closer. We might mix up Gorman and Fry, or maybe even bring Tanner Scott up. And we've got some other arms with, Sean Armstrong and Dylan Tate, etc. So we have some options in the bullpen. But again, I think we got better in the offseason. That was our ultimate goal. Because obviously there are going to be some people trying to come after us being reigning World Series champions. But guys, that is going to do it for this episode. The next episode is going to feature opening day against the Yankees and Garrett Cole. But hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, comment below, and we will see y'all next time.